The Necrons are soulless mechanical entities that emerge from ancient tombs to wage war upon the living universe. These robotic beings have vast legions, armed with hyper-advanced technology that renders them near invincible. They slumber within subterranean tombs normally across the universe in tomb worlds, periodically awakening to unleash havoc. These ancient death machines can dismantle even the most powerful barriers and the thickest armor plating using their advanced weaponry and their mechanized forms. They are not a single faction though, and while they have been ruled by a Triarch of 3 Phaerons in the past, they are now divided and scattered, but even then they still do possess a strong and rigid hierarchy of power structures. And while occasional alliances may form between the Necrons, the individual rulers generally pursue their own objectives and their politics is like a cosmic Game of Thrones. But in the end though, their ultimate shared goal is to reclaim what was once theirs. So here in this video we will talk about the Necron hierarchy and power structure, from a warrior to a Phaeron. Let's start with the construct weapon systems, and the Canoptek robots. These are constructs firstly created by the Necrons for various purposes. They are mindless programmed robots originally created to aid in upkeep and protecting tombs as well as for various other purposes. These can be as small as leeches that can be used to repair the necrodermis of the Necrons and their constructs, or they can be like the Acantrites, which are killing machines armed with a phased void blade and a thermal cutting beam. They can also be large reanimators or doomstalkers as well. In fact, there are a plethora of these robots ranging from scarabs to sentinels and also raids with specific functions. Now with the constructs out of the way, we have the lowest rung Necrons, which are the basic soldiers and the infantry units, starting with the Necron warriors. They are the core infantry of the Necrons, which were created from the Necronter species after the biotransference. Transferred into robotic bodies of necrodermis, these beings have lost all forms of emotion and pleasure, becoming automaton-like. These countless warriors are corroded due to time and have awkward motion due to their fading necrodermis, but they still form the backbone of the Tomb World armies. Each Necron warrior carries a fragment of a once living mind, bound to eternal servitude despite their deteriorated state, somewhat like servitors, but more powerful. Then we come to the Immortals. They serve as the formidable vanguard during the Necrons' galaxy-spanning conquest. They are elite veterans of ancient conflicts and were reborn in undying necrodermis bodies after the Khitan deception, but they still retain echoes of intelligence and unwavering loyalty. Each Necron Immortal carry a trace of their mortal past suppressed by obedience protocols, yet they remember the thrill of victory and the satisfaction of vanquishing foes. They are a step over the warriors in that they are more effective and have more experience in combat. Next we come to the Deathmarks. These are akin to the Immortals but are distinguished by their large green glowing optic sensors and arcane orbs on their spines, emitting an eerie light when employing their occult abilities. Deathmarks are elite snipers and assassins within the Necron forces. Their advanced technology enables them to phase in and out of normal space-time at will, confounding victims who perceive them as teleporting onto the battlefield. But in reality, Deathmark lingers out of phase, waiting to secure and phase into existence again to make precise kills at the opportune moment. Then a step above them we have the Lich God. These are elite defenders and envoys of the Necron nobility, possessing much superior necrodermis bodies akin to those of Necron lords, granting them resilience and power. They are seen apart and distinguished by crests and capes. They are also larger than Immortals. Besides protection, they also serve as messengers and retain greater intellect from the biotransference process, acting as loyal guardians. However, they continue their life roles while devoid of disobedience, ensuring Necron lords and overlords are shielded from betrayal within their ranks. Then above them we have the Praetorian. These are a specialized caste of Necrons serving as judges and enforcers of the ancient Necrontyr laws, ensuring that every Necron dynasty upholds these codes. Unlike other Necrons, they aren't tied to specific lords, and they have the authority to censure nobles who defy their mandates. Since their creation before the War in Heaven, they have steadfastly aimed to restore old Necrontyr dynasties. Rarely seen on the battlefield, they primarily assess the race opponent's honor by ancient laws and remind Necron leaders to adhere to them. So they are agents of the lost Triarch. And a step above them is the Judicator, which is a Praetorian captain, and their role is seemingly to command a tomb and or to serve a bodyguard for a regent who is the ruler of the tomb, and also to ensure that that lord upholds the codes of the Necrontyr. Up next we have the Vargods. They are of a higher rank and serve not just as a general sentinel or a guard, but as a personal bodyguard to a specific noble or a Necron lord. they are chosen for their power and effectiveness in granting protection to that lord. There is just one of them for each Necron noble, and hence why they are up here in this list. They wield the traditional weapon of the Necron tier nobility, which has been custom for eons, a war scythe, an energy-bladed battle staff. So these three entries here before we go on to the nobles and lords of the Necrons are actually outcasts or outriders of the Necron race, owing no allegiance to any dynasty or overlord, acting on their own accord but still a part of the Necron race, and hence present here in this power structure. Firstly, we have the Flayers. These are ghastly Necron entities plagued by ancient infections, compelling a gruesome hunger for organic flesh. Originally Necron tier, they retain some consciousness during their transfer into Necrodermis bodies, but are cursed with an unsatiable craving that drove them to madness. Suffering from the Flayer curse, they are driven to kill and consume flesh, even if they don't really need it, with a never-ending thirst. Next we have the Destroyers. These are insane soldiers of the Necron race that are apart from the normal soldier hierarchy. Necron Destroyers epitomize annihilation and are driven by an unyielding desire to extinguish all life without discrimination. Through self-mutilation, they modify themselves into relentless killing machines, replacing limbs with weapon systems and enhancing neural systems. Then above them we have the Destroyer Lords. A step above the basic Destroyers, these Necron Destroyer Lords, once a Necron Lord or an Overlord, is one that has also succumbed to the madness consuming their lesser servants, becoming a sentient yet deranged member of the elite. So after that side quest, let's get back to the general hierarchy of the Necrons, starting with the elites, the nobles and lords, the ones who rule over certain tombs, tomb worlds, or have a big influence due to their prior status when they were organic Necron tier species. Let's start with the Crypteks. These are technologists and engineers within the Necron society, responsible for studying, maintaining, and manipulating the advanced technology of the Necron dynasties. Their abilities are reminiscent of the supernatural feats displayed by psychers of other species, yet Crypteks achieve these effects through their deep understanding of science and technology rather than harnessing warp energies. Despite lacking official rank, Crypteks wield considerable influence due to their control over Canoptek constructs and the ignorance of the Necron nobility towards their own technology, so they need them. While Crypteks can join the royal courts of the Necron overlords, this comes with political risk as it elevates them to a similar rank and fosters resentment among their peers. And in their own scientific hierarchy, the Crypteks are usually led by a more influential or a more effective Arch Cryptek. So now we come to the Lords. They represent the elite of the Necron race, operating as commanders for the larger armies of standard Necron warriors. Over time, the majority of Necrons became mindless due to the desensitizing effects of their robotic forms. However, the resilient Necron Lords possess remarkable willpower, retaining their near full sentience in these sophisticated bodies of Necrodermis, and they have their own mental independence aside from a hidden command protocol placed on all of the Necrons by the Silent King. The Necron Lords hold high status within their dynasty and their noble hierarchy, often designated as rulers or commanders to oversee entire tomb worlds by either the dynasty's Phaeron or the Necron Overlord. Then above a Lord is a Nemesor. The title of Nemesor is a prestigious military rank within the Necron hierarchy, akin to a general or an admiral in the Imperial Armed Forces. This title can be bestowed upon any self-aware member of the Necron nobility, including Necron Lords and Overlords. Typically, a Nemesor holds the title of the highest military position in a particular campaign or a tomb world, although larger Necron operations might involve multiple Nemesors, leading to different legions, all coordinated by a senior Nemesor or a Mactlan, or maybe under the direct guidance of the Phaeron or the Triarch, a female Phaeron. So above Nemesors we have Overlords. A Necron Overlord stands as one of the paramount and commanding figures within the Necron race, wielding immense authority over numerous tomb worlds, surpassing the authority of a Necron Lord. The Necron Overlord commands vast legions of Necron warriors, also formidable war engines and an extensive arsenal of devastating armaments, and they are often armed with a Staff of Light. These Overlords possess exceptional strategic prowess, skillfully foreseeing potential outcomes in battles and devising plans to ensure success. They are one of the most powerful Necrons to ever be encountered in the grim dark by the Imperium. Next we have the Mactlan. This is a war leader of a dynasty, and its name also means the extinguisher of life. They are kind of like the Nemesor of Nemesors, so to speak, which means if a Nemesor is above a Lord, then a Mactlan would be a Nemesor equivalent for Overlords. But then again, this is vague and not specifically defined. Anyway, one of them, Kutlak, functions as both an Overlord and a Nemesor, and the right hand of the Phaeron of the Maynarch dynasty under the Triarch Zunbaker. For the Subekar dynasty, a similar position is that of the Grand Vizier, if not in role, but in rank. So above that we have the Lord High Judicator. Necron Lords, these High Judicators, form a specialized caste entrusted with upholding ancient Necron laws across dynasties. Unbound by any Lord or Overlord or Nemesor, they possess authority to admonish nobles opposing these codes. Emerging before the War in Heaven, their aim remains to restore the old Necron dynasties. So operating under the lost Triarchs, they only answer to the Phaeron and sometimes even serve as a guiding hand to their ruler, reminding them, advising them of the ways of their ancient past. Above them we have the Overlord Regent. So Necron dynasties exhibit diverse and intricate political frameworks, each of them strictly having their own hierarchical and distinct political structures. These structures revolve around the Phaeron, encompassing an assembly of senior overlords forming a Phaeron's court, with subordinate courts in each overlord. An exception is seen in the Subekar dynasty's royal court, where the ruling assembly centers around an Overlord Regent, who oversees the dynasty when the Phaeron Canoptek still slumbers. This, although strange, actually mirrors the complex governance of their ancient civilization in the past. Okay, so now we come to the Phaerons. They hold a position of immense power within the Necron hierarchy, often governing an entire Necron dynasty and commanding vast empires of tomb worlds. They are especially potent Necron overlords reigning over sectors and supported by subordinate lesser overlords in their court. Sometimes larger dynasties spanning sectors can possess multiple Phaerons, sometimes in hierarchical arrangements like the Caesarcan dynasty. Possessing remarkable willpower, these Phaerons can instill their determination and will into nearby lesser Necrons and even lords. They are sometimes called the supreme leaders of the Necron dynasties, but this can be challenged, as you can see. So we have the Triarch, which is a union of three super powerful Phaerons that held dominion over the ancient Necron empire before the War in Heaven over 60 million years ago. Back then, there were many conflicting sectors ruled by individual Necron dynasties, each led by a Phaeron, and it was decreed back then that the rulers were to be overseen by a council of three powerful Phaerons forming the Triarch. The foremost member would be a silent king who communicated through the other two Phaerons, which are lesser, but since the biotransference, the Triarch doesn't exist anymore and it is defunct. So at the very top we have Caesaric, known as the Silent King. He was the leader of the final Triarch within the ancient Necron empire. Under his rule, the Necron underwent the transformative biotransference process orchestrated by the Catan, becoming the soulless Necrons. He is the one that commanded all the Necrons to enter the Great Sleep, whilst he went into self-imposed exile for 60 million years after defeating the Catan. The Silent King now rules over all Necrons by a command protocol that he cunningly placed during the biotransference process onto all the Necron race, hence granting him the supreme commander position for perpetuity. So that's all we have to say about the Necron hierarchy and power structure, from a warrior to a Phaeron and lastly to the Silent King. So I see that many of you haven't subscribed yet. It would do us a huge favor if you would smash that red button and also like the video to push us through in the YouTube algorithm. Please the Omnisire, please him, please it, yeah, whatever. And while you're at it, bang on that bell icon for notifications. Till the next time, take care, boys.